Have you ever wondered why your cat, this embodiment of calm and grace, suddenly turns into an uncontrollable projectile at 3 in the morning, knocking down everything in its path? Most owners make a fatal mistake, believing that their animal is simply seeing ghosts or has finally gone crazy from boredom. In reality, this means something completely different, and your attempts to calm or punish your pet only ignore the deep evolutionary call that makes its heart beat faster. Your cat has been trying to tell you this for years, but we continue to see night zoomies as nothing more than an annoying misunderstanding. I am certain that 90% of you right now are doing it wrong by trying to ignore the night activity, and your pet suffers in silence because its ancient code demands a release, which it cannot get within 4 walls. Today we will reveal this evolutionary cipher, known to science as periodic explosions of chaotic activity, and understand why night noise is not mischief, but a survival strategy that saved the species from degradation. Listen to this analysis until the very last second, because at the very end I will reveal one critically important detail about the so-called empty hunting effect, which almost no owner knows about, and which is the key to making your cat finally synchronize its sleep with yours forever. Write right now in the comments what time the night madness usually starts in your home, and have you ever believed that at this moment the cat sees what you do not see? There is a common misconception that cats are nocturnal predators, but biological reality indicates a much finer tuning. In fact, cats are crepuscular creatures, whose peak energy occurs at the time when light fades or has just appeared. Every night jump of your pet is not an accident. It is a survival strategy, written in its DNA millions of years ago. In the wild, a predator must be ready for an instant strike, which requires a massive amount of accumulated energy in the muscles. In a home environment, where the food bowl is always full and dangers do not exist, this energy finds no outlet. It is stored inside, creating incredible pressure on the animal's psyche. The phenomenon, which we call zoomies, is scientifically designated as the frustration syndrome of the absence of hunting. Studies conducted at the University of Edinburgh in 2020 confirmed that cats, who do not have the opportunity to realize their hunting cycle during the day, are forced to release this tension through chaotic movements at night. The animal literally feels physical discomfort from the inability to be a predator. When a cat races across the room, it is not just running, it is performing an ancient ritual, where every turn and every jump is an imitation of a struggle for life. This is an act of brain detoxification from the excess of adrenaline and dopamine, which have accumulated during a day of inactivity on the sofa. However, there is one detail that is impossible to ignore. It is the chemistry of the relationship between your state of peace and its vulnerability. Click the like button and subscribe if you belong to those few owners who truly want to understand their animal at the level of the soul and evolutionary instincts, and strive to build relationships based on respect for nature. Why then does the cat choose the exact moment when you finally fell asleep? The answer lies in the defenselessness of the environment. At night, the house goes quiet, the sounds of technology disappear, and your predator finally feels like the full master of the territory. This is the moment when the colony is in a state of vulnerability, and the cat, taking the position of an active patrol, checks the boundaries of its safe place. Its activity is not an attempt to wake you up. It is the realization of its status as the chief defender. Most owners make a fatal mistake, punishing the cat or locking it in another room, instead of understanding that its brain is simply executing an evolutionary program. In reality, your cat has been trying to tell you this for years, using night noise as a signal that its hunting code requires attention. It is important to know about the concept of metabolic explosion. A domestic cat spends up to 16 hours a day asleep, and when the sun sets, its organism triggers the process of preparation for hunting, regardless of whether it is actually hungry. This is not an accident. It is an evolutionary clock that cannot be stopped by a simple ban. If the energy finds no outlet in play, it will explode in chaos. It is fair to say that your cat perceives your stillness in bed as a signal that, right now, is the perfect time to test its own speed and coordination skills. Play for a cat is not a way to pass the time. It is a ritual that maintains its self-confidence. Your pet's trust in you grows when you offer it objects that match its biological essence, especially before you sleep. Most owners make the mistake of stroking the cat in the evening instead of simulating a real hunt. We need to learn how to switch this ancient code from night mode to evening mode. And if you thought that the cat has enough toys scattered on the floor, reality suggests something completely different. An object that does not move is dead to a predator. Only your active participation in the process can satisfy this evolutionary hunger. There is a direct link between nutrition and sleep. In nature, the cycle looks like this: hunting, the kill, eating, and only then a long, deep sleep. In our homes, this cycle is often broken. We feed the cat too early, or don't give it the opportunity to hunt before dinner. This creates a gap in its biological program. When you fall asleep, its stomach has already digested the food, and the brain turns the search mode back on. This is that same defenselessness before its own nature with which your cat struggles every night. Our task is to become its translators and help it adapt to the rhythm of the human colony. But here we approach that very critical detail. Have you ever heard of the empty hunting effect? This is a state where a cat catches a toy but does not receive physical confirmation of success, that is, food. This results in the cycle in the brain not closing, and the animal remains in a state of excitement for hours. That is why laser pointers are the worst choice for evening play. The cat sees, but cannot touch. For your cat to sleep all night, every evening play session must end with eating a small portion of protein. Only then will the brain receive the signal, operation complete, colony is safe, sleep is allowed. This is the strategy that will turn your nights into a time of peace rather than a time of struggling with a predator. This is why understanding the ancient code is so important for the chemistry of your relationship. When you see that your predator is beginning its night dance, do not be angry. Understand that this is the voice of millions of years of evolution, which requires balance. Provide it with active play before sleep and a mandatory feeding ritual after, and you will see how its anxiety level decreases. Your home should be a safe place where instincts do not lead to conflicts. Learn to see the world through the eyes of your little wild hunter. For it, the night is not just a time for sleep, it is a time for confirming its identity. Cherish this fragile connection and do not ignore these energy bursts. Every night race, chosen by your cat, tells a story about its wild past and its vulnerable present. The real truth is that your cat is not trying to ruin your life. It is trying to preserve itself in a world where it no longer needs to fight for food, but its brain still demands that fight. Take care of your pets. Appreciate their ancient wisdom and remember that true understanding of a cat begins where human expectations end and deep respect for nature begins. Be attentive to details, for in them is hidden the truth that makes your relationship with this incredible creature truly alive and harmonious.